Welcome to the Wealth Initiative. This is going to be the ultimate vacation hack, how to turn your golden years truly golden. I'm Terry Lenoir, a financial strategist who helps real people build real wealth without the confusion. So if you're ready to start planning, stop guessing, then you're in the right place. So retirement is not the end. It's actually the beginning, right? It is moving to that next chapter so that you can plan for the ultimate vacation hack and live the dream that you thought about years ago. So before we go there, I'm going to introduce my co-host, my son, Garrett. Welcome to the show, son.
Thanks, Dad. I really enjoy being on here talking about these different topics. I like that at my age, I'm learning about these different strategies for retirement. I'm hoping to reach out to other people that are around my age with these different strategies to make sure that we all experience the golden years properly. But also like that we're reaching out to people, say, that are your age and we're giving them these strategies as well. And you've reached out and you've helped a lot of people no matter what age they were. So you can honestly get started at any point. It's never too late. And if you want to get started, just go ahead and share this with everyone you know so they can also get started and call or DM us, right, Dad?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's never too late and it's never too early to get started, to plan for retirement. And so we're going to move forward to Ask Terry.
So I have a question from Barbara from Vacaville, California. So Barbara would like to know, how much money do I need to retire?
You know, Great question. I get it a lot. Many times people want a very specific number, right? But it's going to depend on that individual. Depends on exactly what they're looking for, what their lifestyle is going to be, where they're going to live, what their health care costs are going to be, right? How long they intend to live. The reality is you should look to plan for retirement and have your money to last anywhere from 25 to 35 years.
So pretty similar to overall income needs for a person, like say someone that's single with no kids, probably rents an apartment. Their income need is not as high as say someone with a house, wife, and if you're Philip Rivers, you got 17 kids. You need high income for all the mouths to feed.
Yeah, absolutely. And transitioning into retirement, remember, retirement is not an age, it's an amount of money, right? So, with understanding what that is, now retirement, the game plan, the strategy is a little bit different than I have to sit and wait until a specific age, right? So, you can hit that retirement when you're ready.
Well, that actually leads me to my next question is why do so many people feel unprepared for retirement?
You know, a lot of people don't realize that retirement planning is not just about saving. It's not just about putting money away. A lot of times people look at their job plan and that's the only plan they have. Or unfortunately, even some people look at Social Security as going to be their retirement, their sole vehicle that's going to help them. And that's actually going to leave them very short, right? So everyone has a specific amount of money that they need for retirement. It's called your financial independence number. We're going to call it your FIN number for short, right? And so your FIN number is going to be the amount of money that you need to live the lifestyle that you choose to live, the length that you, hopefully you're going to live, and not worry about ever running out of money.
Right. It's definitely something that I know a lot of people in my generation, they tend not to think about. They don't really know that number because often the mindset is I'll cross that bridge when I get there. Or I'll think about that when I hit age 40, age 50, right? Or after I have kids and the kids reach a certain age.
Absolutely. A lot of times people underestimate longevity or the busyness with the family, with kids and their kids and their grandkids and life. And then they look up and retirement is right there. And now they are panicking because they haven't saved and they haven't planned. But it's never too late.
Right? They didn't have that proper mindset. But speaking of mindsets, I want to know, what's the biggest mindset shift that people need to make about retirement?
The shift needs to go from thinking that retirement is about approaching the end to the shift of retirement is going to be the transition for the next 20 to 30 years, right? The next chapter of my life, the next episode. And how do I want that to play out? What's my goal? What's my lifestyle? How's my health? All of those things are going to come into play. All those things have a factor in figuring out what your financial independence number is, right? So understanding what that FIN number is, that mindset is going to be keen in knowing it's not about the end, it's the beginning.
Pretty similar to that work hard, play hard mindset that you see people talk about, or like those motivational posts where you'll see two people and you have one that had fun for 5 years and then they had to work their butt off for the next 40 years, or someone that works their butt off for 10 to 15 years and then they can kind of relax for the rest of their life. It's all about that get it done mindset. Because I know me personally, I don't want to work as a greeter at Walmart when I'm 70.
Yeah. And so it is more than just planning for money, it's relationships, right? It's a relationship shift on what you tend to do. Now, for many, sitting at home reading a book, that's not fulfilling. So if you go into retirement, then maybe your goal is you're a full on volunteer at the church. You're actively helping out with kids at school, maybe your grandkids' school or something, but creating an active lifestyle, but having the money to fund that.
Right. So kind of this idea of not just planning for how much money you'll have for retirement, but what you'll do once you get there. Because sitting at home all day watching TV or reading a book, that can be a little mind numbing a lot of times. I mean, right after your mom retired, my grandma worked a job as a street crosser for a nearby school, not because she needed the money, but just because she was bored.
Yeah, yeah, and that happens, and that's where that encore career comes in, right? Having the ability to do something in addition, that's a factor in that as well. So being prepared for all of that, and that's where working with a financial advisor, actually reaching out to us, working with someone to identify those things that perhaps you didn't think about. Perhaps it wasn't something that, you thought was an idea in retirement.
So, with that in mind, financially speaking, where should someone start?
Clarity, right? Having a clear, concise picture of what you're looking for, what you want that lifestyle to be, right? How you want to move forward, what your travel plans are. A lot of times individuals go into retirement and they want to travel. They want to see the world because maybe they've worked a 9 to 5, for the last 40 years and they had not had an opportunity to see the world. So now they go and they travel, right? And so planning for retirement comes into that because there is going to be a portion where perhaps that is going to take up a chunk of retirement money. But then there'll be a shift, right? So if you retire at 65 and let's say you travel from 65 to 75. Now you've been to, several different countries, you've done a lot of things. Now at 75, maybe that traveling is not what you want to do anymore. And so having a strategy and a plan is going to help with all of that.
Right. So, you have to see the vision. That's basically what you're saying. So, I want to know, how important is that early planning? Because I know for me personally, a lot of people that I have graduated with in college, they've talked about investing and making sure that they prep and they're ready for the cost of different things, like especially since we live in California. But there's a stat that shows that only about 20% of people in the Gen Z generation are actively saving for retirement.
Yeah. So important. So important to get started early. I mean, like with you and your brother, when you all first started working, we started putting money away because the ultimate goal is to, at retirement, to have way more money than you need, right? And so the idea that a lot of individuals go into, when they get their first jobs. You graduated from college last year. A lot of your classmates are getting jobs. They're making those transition into living on their own, and they don't think they could afford it. The reality is, if you were to put away, starting at age 25, if you were to put away $150 every paycheck, so let's say you get paid, twice a month, and you were to put away $300 a month, that's $150 a paycheck, and you were to do that from age 25 to age 65, well, with an average rate of return of about 9%, you'd have $2.2 million. Significant. And would put you in the position to retire really the way that you want, to have a plan and have a strategy to transition. Now, here's the significant part. The time value of money is so important that if you were to wait, like some people do, you indicated that only, about 20% of individuals that graduated with you are actively participating in retirement. So then they get into that accumulation phase, right? They're trying to buy a house, they're starting a family, they're doing all those things. Well, what happens is then they wake up and now they're 40 and now they're going to start retiring. It's never too late. It's never too late. But the significant difference is if you were to start saving $300 a month, again, $150 every paycheck from age 40 to age 65. And you're talking about $274,000 that you will accumulate. Huge difference. Same contribution, but the time value of money allows that money to really compound and make a huge difference. Massive difference.
That actually reminds me of a time I went to hang out with a buddy of mine. We went to the mall and we came across someone who had told us he had been saving for retirement since he was 16 when he got his first job. And me and my friend were both like, "Oh, that's very smart. Like he's very intelligent. He's know what he's doing." And then come the next day, I bring it up to my friend. He's like, "No, I'm not doing that right now." Well, you just said it was super smart. Like, what are you doing? But you know, it's not just about the people who plan early, but what about the people that feel like they may be behind?
Great question. Again, it's never too late, right? The key is to start now. The good thing is for some individuals, if they have not gotten started early and they're starting late, they could typically afford to put a little bit more away than a college student getting their first job, right? But even if you can't, the key is to slowly, incrementally increase contributions, right? You get to a point where you can leverage any catch up contributions that the IRS allows you to do. Right now, if you're putting money away in an IRA or a Roth IRA, the IRS allows you to put away a maximum of $7,000. Now, if you are above the age of 50, that 7,000 goes up to 8,000. So you have the ability to put more money away. If you're between the age of 62 and 65, there's an additional catch-up contribution that takes that to 11,500. So again, you can put away massive amounts of money if you're starting late to catch up and have the significance of retirement income that those younger individuals are able to as well.
Right. So even if you feel like you are behind, really you're not, because there are steps you can take to kind of catch up in a sense to the people that have already started early. But I've heard a lot of people mention their retirement and social security. What role does social security play with retirement?
Social Security is a piece of the puzzle. It's something that we contribute to. If you have a job, Uncle Sam's taking, his portion, and there's a piece going to Social Security. But Social Security should only play a role of about 30 to 40% of what you're looking to have at retirement, right? And so there are opportunities for you to request from Social Security your projection of what your Social Security benefits are going to be. And you should definitely do that. The good thing is working with us, we're going to give you that advice. We're going to help you, and we're going to walk you through how to obtain that information. So again, we can put that piece of the puzzle together.
It's pretty similar to those general rules of income, like say when you're getting a house or getting an apartment and you're paying rent, they say no more than 30% of your income should be dedicated towards your housing. Or like when you get a car, 10 to 15% is kind of the rule when it comes to your car note or your overall car payment. So same thing with Social Security.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just understanding the process, right? And so having the goal and having the understanding, because you got to pay yourself first, right? So we make sure you get your paycheck, and you understand we have to tithe, right? So we give the Lord his, and then we pay ourselves first, and then we take care of our necessities, our household budget, things like that. And then at the end of that would be any additional things that we wanted to do. But we're going to make sure that we take care of God first and then ourselves. And then we take care of those other responsibilities.
Right? You need to be very smart with how you allocate your money with your income. Because I've actually met someone, former coworker. They didn't know all these rules, so they were thinking about getting an apartment that was about 2,000 a month. But I told them your income is 3,000 a month. Like you are not going to be able to live comfortably if you do that.
Right, right. Absolutely. Again, plan, right? Having a plan, having a strategy is going to be crucial. It's going to be important.
Right. And I'm actually curious about something. What do retirees often overlook when it comes to planning?
One of the biggest things that most retirees don't plan for is inflation. When you get a job and you're working and you take a look at, let's say you have a pension, and you look at that pension, you go, okay, well, after my 30 years of service and my age, I'm going to have X amount of dollars. And so that number sounds great, but 30 years from now, understand, or 20 years from now, understand that what $10,000 purchased 30 years ago is very, very different than what $10,000 purchased today. So that's probably the biggest oversight. Healthcare is a second major, major step. You must plan to make sure that as you get into the older age, going to the doctor is going to be more frequent. You may be on medication and you have to pay for those medications. And so all of those things are going to be crucial in planning to make sure that you have everything needed to live that lifestyle. You don't want to have to decide on, do I want to eat or do I want to take my medicine? You want to make sure that you're good. And then lifestyle, right? If you work 30, 40 years, you should be able to live the lifestyle you want. You shouldn't be, relegated to living less than, and having to settle and not do the enjoyable things that you've dreamt about because you put in the work, but you also must make sure that you plan.
Right. Like it's better to have something and not need it than to need something and not have it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So essentially, you got to make sure in having a plan going into retirement to also not overlook smart ways to withdraw, right? So we look at having that retirement, having that pension. Unfortunately, I know individuals, I know a young lady who uh, had worked 40 years. She did not seek my advice. When she retired, she the first 3 years were incredible. She traveled. She did a lot of fun things. What she did not have a clear plan on was her retirement. After 3 years, she realized that she had actually gone through a portion of it. And now things were at a point where she realized, I'm going to have to go back to work. And she had to go back to work. Now, there's no shame in that. But again, had she planned, she could have, avoided that issue. Also, having tax efficient strategies to ensure. I work with clients all the time, and I convince them that if you are able to fully fund a Roth IRA or have a Roth IRA, you should. That's going to be tax free money. And so it's going to put you in a different position when you retire, when you begin to withdraw that money, because Uncle Sam's going to tax the pension, he's going to tax Social Security, right? And so those things are going to be taxed. And as you're paying taxes, that's lowering your spending ability. Now, if you have income that's not taxable, put you in a better position, put you in a great place, and then protecting your assets to ensure that as you are growing those funds, you're also putting them in position so that there are some protected assets protected against downturns in the market, changes in the federal government, right? We just recently went through a government shutdown. So all of those things should be planned for and accounted for. But again, that's where having a professional comes into place.
It actually reminds me of a conversation I've had with one of my good buddies, and he said, "Oh, if I had $1 million for retirement, I'd be good." But I always keep inflation in mind with any amount of money that someone talks about getting. So I'm like, $1 million is nothing. It probably will be nothing in give it about 40 years. It won't have the same value that we view it as, because even today, like the way I view $1 million is not the same as when I viewed it as a 15-year-old, right? Because of inflation, things go up, right? $1 billion, that's different, but $1 million, not so much. But what strategies help retirees make their money last?
Smart withdrawal, 4% to ensure that you're not going to run out of money. There is a 4 to 5% rule that retirement specialists use to calculate how much money you can actually take out. But then again, there's also, I mentioned this before, but the tax efficient planning, and then also having a portion of that money in particular assets that will pay lifelong income, right? So regardless to the amount of money that's there, there are annuities and things like that that will pay you for a lifetime. So then again, diversified strategy and plan helps allow that money to last.
Okay. All right. Well, if someone is listening today and they want to take that first step, where should they begin?
Very first thing they need to do, reach out to us, right? And get a clear picture of what they want, where they want to be financially. And we're going to help them with that, like a financial GPS, right? So, what does a GPS do? The very first thing it needs to do is identify where you are. So, we're going to help you figure out where you are today and then that roadmap to where you want to be. And then the steps to be most effective and most efficient on how to get there, the lifestyle that they want, health issues or possible health issues, grandkids, spending, those things. And so someone wants to make sure that they're on target, reach out to us and let's get a plan. Let's find out what your financial independence number is, which is going to be key.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? If this episode hit home for you, don't wait, because your FIN number, it isn't some mystery. It's just the math problems. So click the link below. You can join our private Facebook group called the Wealth Initiative. Once you join, we'll connect with you and figure out what you and your family need. And make sure you subscribe, follow, share with other people so that they can also see this episode. And be sure to join in to our episode next time, where we talk about women in wealth with a very special guest. We'll see you next time.